Hey, what is up, Top 10 fam? Welcome back to another creepy video. You guys love these dark god videos, so I've rounded up a few more good ones for you today. From gods who are kidnappers, to gods who throw plagues at people like they're giving out candy, to a god who tricks you into getting lost in the forest. On today's list, we are going to be talking about 10 more dark things gods did in ancient religions. Let's dive right in. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Dionysus. Compared to some of the other gods we've talked about in other parts of this list, Dionysus is one of the more chill and relaxed gods in comparison. He is the god of quite a few things, as he is the god of the grape harvest, winemaking and wine, of fertility, orchards, fruit, vegetation, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy, festivity, and theater. Although he is regarded as a pretty low-key and less petty god, he is still a god that comes from Greek mythology, which certainly means that he's done at least a few dark things in his day. To start off with, let's talk about King Lycurgus of Thrace. Now, this story changes a bit depending on which source you get it from, but basically to sum it all up, when this king refused to worship Dionysus and began to imprison those who did, he of course decided to punish the king. To get his revenge, he drove the king so mad and made him believe his own family were grapevines, which he ended up chopping up. So that's a little far. And if that wasn't enough, let's talk about one more story quickly, and that has to do with Pentheus, who is the king of Thebes. One of the first things he did upon becoming king was banning the worship of Dionysus, which we now know is something that this god really doesn't like. For this, Dionysus had his followers thrown into a frenzy where they tore the king apart limb by limb, and one of the people in this frenzy was the king's own mother. So again, we took this one just a little too far. In our number 9 spot today, we have Khonsu. Khonsu is a god who comes to us from ancient Egypt as the god of the moon. His name means traveler, and it is believed that this was meant to symbolize the perceived traveling of the moon in the sky, which we now know it doesn't do. People are gonna be like, the moon doesn't travel, whatever. He most definitely wasn't all bad, as he was believed to watch over travelers in the night, and when he caused the crescent moon to shine, women conceived, cattle became fertile, and all nostrils and throats were filled with fresh air. He was mainly regarded as a healer, so it's hard to believe he has dark stories surrounding him, but like most gods, he could be helpful but also very dangerous. In part of the pyramid texts, this god is mentioned in the cannibal hymn. He is described as extremely bloodthirsty, and he was said to help the deceased king with catching and eating other gods. In the coffin texts, he is described as Khonsu who lives on hearts. Apparently he was considered much more dangerous and violent in earlier Egyptian history, but as time went on, he began to soften up and became much more compassionate and kind. Honestly, despite the whole eating hearts and other gods thing, which was super weird, it's nice to see a god who really had some character growth over the years. I think that's something we can all appreciate. In our number 8 spot today, we have Anubis. Anubis is the god of mummification and the afterlife, and is also the patron god of lost souls and the helpless. He is often confused with another Egyptian god Wekwawet because of the fact that they are both jackal gods, and it is believed that Anubis was derived from him. It is definitely safe to say that Anubis is not the darkest or scariest god on this list, but being the god of mummification, there's definitely some weird stuff going on here. He became the god of mummification because he was there for the first mummification when Isis had her brother/husband Osiris embalmed. The weird thing though is that Anubis likes to keep little trophies of the embalmed people, which gives off major serial killer energy. After Osiris was slain by Set, which we talked about in part 2, Set offered Osiris's organs to Anubis. This kicked off his super strange collection of mummified body parts. Imagine explaining that to your guests while hosting a dinner party. In our number 7 spot today, we have Pererug. I might have said that horribly wrong. Pererug is one god on this list that doesn't have a lot of information on what he looked like, which leads many to believe he may have taken a spirit form rather than a human or animal form. He comes to us from Slavic mythology and is said to be a dark and mysterious deity, and is usually described as evil, which is never a good sign. He is the god of quarreling, fighting, hate, jealousy, and really all the most ugly human emotions. He is said to bring negativity to people and make them hate each other. Basically any sort of discord between two people is thought to be the work of him. Unfortunately, not a lot of myths surrounding him have survived over time, so we don't really have any particular stories involving him, but I believe the thought that he just brings discord and fighting and negativity in general is a perfect reason to be on today's list. Next time you're in a fight with someone you love, just remember that maybe it's not really you in the situation, but instead the work of Pererug. In our number 6 spot today we have Sekhmet. Sekhmet is one of the oldest known Egyptian deities, and she could either be known as the Lady of Terror or the Lady of Life, depending on which side of hers you were on. Her name means power, and she has the ability to control diseases. She had the ability to protect those she cared for from diseases, but also held the power to spread pestilence and disease or plagues to those she didn't. She had the title of patron of physicians and healers, and her priests became widely regarded as skilled doctors. So, while she certainly wasn't all bad and definitely helped many people stay healthy and happy, she also could and did punish people with some of the most horrible illnesses, and that is something I'd never wish on anyone. Probably for the best to just stay on her good side. In our number 5 spot today we have Hades. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the little thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far. I can't believe we've made it to part 3 of this video without talking about Hades, but here we finally are. Hades is the king of the underworld and the god of the dead, and I'm not sure if it gets any darker than that. It was believed that just by speaking his name he would have the power to bring you to the underworld, so people tried to avoid his name like it was Voldemort. Hades was sure to never let any souls that entered the underworld escape, and he would punish anyone who tried, or anyone who tried to save someone in the underworld. One of his darkest myths is in reference to the time he kidnapped Persephone. He opened up the earth where she was picking flowers and kept her in the underworld. Persephone's mother, Demeter, was of course really unhappy about this and did everything she could to get her back. Hades finally agrees to let her go, but of course there's always a twist with these guys. He gives her a pomegranate seed as a parting gift, which she eats. Little does she know, if you eat food from the underworld, it binds you to it, so now she is bound to Hades, and basically the story ends off with her being allowed to live a few months of the year on Earth, but the rest of the time she is stuck in the underworld. So yeah, Hades is just out there kidnapping people, which is super uncool. In our number 4 spot today we have Tartarus. We have most definitely spoken about Tartarus on this channel before, but not quite in the same way we are going to today. Usually when talking about mythology, Tartarus is known as the place where people are banished to. It is a deep abyss that is used as a sort of dungeon of torment and suffering for people who did bad things. But what if I told you that Tartarus is actually a deity? He is one of the primordial deities, which are the gods that all others stem from. The place of Tartarus is said to be the actual body of the deity instead of him taking on a human form. He is ranked as the 3rd in power after Chaos, who is the first deity, and Gaia, who is the earth. So not only is he housing and torturing people, albeit the fact that most of the people there probably deserved it, but he is also said to be the father of some of the darkest and scariest monsters there has ever been. In our number 3 spot today we have Veles. Veles is a major Slavic god, and he is said to be the god of earth, water, livestock, in the underworld, which seems like quite a combination of things. One of the best known things about him that he is the arch nemesis of Perun, who is the god of the sky, thunder, lightning, and storms. One of the darkest things that he is known for is in relation to Perun and why they hate each other. The story changes a bit depending on the source, but it's all relatively similar, with Veles stealing either Perun's cattle, wife, or children, which to be fair, some of these are worse than others, but they're all bad enough to be upset at someone for. In the storm myth or the divine battle, Veles has the ability to shapeshift, so he likes to take the form of a snake and try to slither up the sacred tree to Perun's domain, but Perun strikes back with lightning bolts. Veles tries to get away by shapeshifting into trees and animals, but in the end Perun prevails and kills him. In this ritual death, whatever he stole from Perun is released from his body in the form of raindrops falling from the sky, and this is the myth that ancient Slavs used in relation to the changing seasons. So in the end, Veles is a kidnapper, I guess, and Perun shouldn't be messed with. In the number 2 spot today we have Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of the sea, but he is equally as well known for his bad temper and violence, which is not a good combination for a deity. He was believed to also be the creator of earthquakes and horses, which seems a little random. He is usually depicted on a 4-horse chariot holding his most recognizable emblem, the trident. He is the son of Cronus and Rhea, and like all their children except for Zeus, Poseidon was swallowed by his father before Zeus saved all of his siblings and their father was subsequently defeated. Poseidon has a history of fighting both with other gods as well as mortal men, so it's no surprise he made it onto this list today. While we could discuss a few dark things he's done, today we'll just talk about one, and that is what he did to Medusa. We all have heard of Medusa before, the woman with snakes for hair that turns anyone who looks at her to stone, but did you know that she wasn't always like this? Medusa used to be a beautiful woman who was a priestess to the goddess Athena. For whatever reasons, one of the rules around being a priestess was being a virgin, and that may seem unimportant because it should be, but unfortunately that is an integral part of this myth. Poseidon really liked Medusa and tried to pursue her, but Medusa wasn't interested and tried to escape him by running to the temple of Athena. Unfortunately, Poseidon found her at the temple and decided to take advantage of her right then and there. After Athena found out about this, instead of punishing Poseidon for being a major slimeball, she turned her rage to Medusa, who was simply just a victim. To punish Medusa, she turned her hair to snakes and made her face so terrible that if anyone looked at it, they would be turned to stone. I guess this story shows how awful both Poseidon and Athena could be. I grew up thinking that Medusa was the monster, but as it turns out, not everything is as it seems. In our number 1 spot today we have Berstuk. Berstuk is a Wendish evil god of the forest and is known for his trickery. He is often described as being half man and half goat, but there are some sources which claim he's actually all shadow and doesn't have a human form at all, and instead is more of a spirit of the woods. So here's what dark thing he's got going on. He likes to trick wanderers of the forest into getting lost. Yup, literally a full-on nightmare. He likes to hang out in the dark depths of the forest waiting for the moment to strike. Once a wanderer stumbles across his path, he'll play tricks where he changes the path in the woods, or he'll whisper in their ears to frighten them and lay branches in their way so that they'll trip and fall. And he does all this simply because he just enjoys the suffering of others. Many of the other gods on this list also do some good things, but I couldn't find any happy or nice stories about this one. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you want to see another part, if you want part 4, let me know below in the comments which gods you want to see on part 4 and maybe I can make it happen for you. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I'll see you next time. Bye!